I like the shirt. It's blue. It's creative. It's special. It's kind of like my life where it's lively. It's eccentric. It's crazy. But on the other hand, it's beautiful. It's very much like my paintings. They're wild and crazy, but on the other hand, they are pretty and show the peacefulness of life. Well, I've always been interested in art. Even as a youngster, I loved going to museums, and even when I practiced dentistry, I was interested in art and going to museums, but I was not actually doing artwork. Dentistry actually is a profession that is artistic. And unfortunately, when I entered the profession in the 70s, we didn't have materials that really could make people's smiles shine. And I was always intrigued by that, and I was always playing with materials and experimenting in order to make people look better. In 1996, I had an opportunity to go on a bicycle tour in California to Sonoma and Napa Valley, which is wine country. And every day we had an opportunity to go on different routes. They told us about an artist, and her name was Barbara Nietzsche. And they said that she welcomes people to her art studio. There were 32 people in the group, but I made a point that I'm going to go and visit Barbara's studio. She invited me in, and I watched Barbara paint. I was so inspired by Barbara in terms of her technique and her skill that I said, I got to do this. And I took a watercolor course at a local high school. Then I took a couple of watercolor courses at Silvervine Guild, which is here in Norwalk, Connecticut. And that propelled me, and actually one of my watercolors won an award. And I said, wow, this is an interesting part of me. Maybe I should explore this. And so I started to do different things. I used watercolor, I used acrylic, I used oil, and I used encaustic. Encaustic is a colored wax that you melt on a hot palette. So I was always experimenting, as I did in dentistry, in terms of colors and different materials. And so my artwork has transformed because of my interest in experimentation. One time I actually took one of my paintings and thought that, wouldn't it be a great idea that rather than let it set in a room, to put the painting outside when the temperature dropped below 32. And the different effects that you get, not only from paints that are different consistencies, different materials that you incorporate with the paint, and even using different temperatures for the paint to set, is a very, very fascinating and interesting part of art. COVID had an effect on me because at the time that COVID started, I was 74 years old, so that I was very high risk and still might possibly be high risk because of my age. I decided that I would retire at age 74. I had already had my art studio, so I knew that I could have a full life and expand my painting and my artistic endeavors because I would be retired. And I love people. That's what I liked about being a dentist. And even though I'm an artist, and when I am painting solitary solo, but I did like going to exhibits where my paintings were displayed and hearing people talk about my artwork. My father fought in World War II. And there were stories that, I was told that, weren't pleasant about man's inhumanity towards man. And that still goes on today. I felt that it was important for me to display beauty in the world. And when I look at my paintings, I do see certain focal spots that make me feel that even in all the confusion, and in all the confusion of what's going on in politics in the world, I could look at my painting and I find beauty in it. And I think that's important, to bring beauty to society and the world. When you leave an occupation and you open that door and you step out into a hall, and there's nothing in that hall except other doors, and you have to decide, do you want to open up that door and go through and start something new. This door was part of my dental office. The contractor was going to throw the door in the dumpster, and I said, no, put it in my car. People can be stifled, or they feel that they are concerned about being criticized. Every journey starts with one step. And whether you go through the door of meeting Barbonichis in California and taking an art course, I feel that you have to take risk. People hesitate. They don't have the confidence and the daring to go through a door to start a second profession. I feel that I open doors and I feel comfortable with walking through. I don't always feel comfortable. Sometimes I have hesitations, but nevertheless, I walk through. I don't think that my risk-taking in terms of my art was a risk. I think it's more of just letting yourself go and being in the flow of life. I mean, we don't know where our directions are, and being in the flow of life is very, very important for me. I was successful and feel that I made a contribution to society and to my patients that had problems. I was successful as a father. I now have 4 grandchildren, and they've painted with me, either in watercolor or in acrylic. And I would say to people, pursue your dreams. Don't let anybody tell you that you can't do that.